Hey guys, how's it going? You are now watching the definitive film study on the best pure boxer in the sport right now, Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux. So grab a drink, enjoy. With that said, on to the video. Okay, so let's talk about one of Rigondeaux's most effective weapons, which of course is his lead hand. Rigo uses his lead hand to establish punching range, to establish distance from his opponent, to occupy his opponent, and also to distract his opponents. He also uses it to obviously create punching opportunities for his left cross. So if you take a look at this first clip versus Nonito Donaire, you see that Rigondeaux uses his lead hand to establish punching range. He gets his distance using his lead hand, and he also uses it as a distraction device and as a blinding tool to block Nonito Donaire's field of vision. You notice he keeps checking Nonito Donaire's lead hand. This forces Donaire to pay attention to Rigo's lead hand and occupies him in the process. In the second clip, you can see Rigo uses his lead hand much the same as the first to continuously check Nonito Donaire's lead hand, and that just forces him and occupies Nonito Donaire because he's forced to have to pay attention to Rigo's lead hand. In the final clip, you can see Rigondeaux repeatedly using his lead hand, first to measure his distance, and secondly, to act as a blinding tool to block Nonito Donaire's field of vision, and thirdly, as a distraction device, as previously mentioned. Notice how Nonito Donaire is visibly disturbed by the lead hand and is looking for different ways he can neutralize that lead hand. Notice how Nonito Donaire attempts to change levels and attempts to look towards his left. He kind of slips towards his left, trying to find a way where he can get past that lead hand, because obviously Rigo fights behind his lead hand, and if you don't neutralize that lead hand, you will not be able to maximize your offense in the fight. Okay, so we've seen how Rigo uses his lead hand as a distraction device and to measure his distance from his opponent. Now we're going to talk about how he uses it also as an early warning system, whereby once he feels his lead hand is challenged, for example being slapped down by his opponent, he automatically adopts a defensive position. If we take a look at this first clip versus Rico Ramos, you can see Rico Ramos slaps down Rigo's lead hand, and Rigo doesn't even need to see the punch. He's already slipping to his left and performs a 180-degree pivot turn out to his left into safety. And this is just simply off his lead hand being challenged. In the next clip, you see Nonito Donaire do a very similar thing to Rico Ramos. He challenges Rigo's lead hand, which is always in place, always being stuck in your face. And as soon as he challenges that lead hand, Rigondeaux instantly slips. Rigondeaux doesn't even need to sit there and wait to see the punch. He really doesn't even care about this follow-up punch from Nonito Donaire. As soon as his lead hand is challenged, Rigo slips the punch. If you look at this final clip here versus Tion Kennedy, notice how Tion Kennedy checks Rigo's lead hand, and notice how Tion Kennedy doesn't follow up with any offense, but watch Rigondeaux's reaction. Rigondeaux still slips to his left, because that's exactly what he does. He adopts a defensive position every time his lead hand is challenged. So his lead hand effectively is an early warning system. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how Guillermo Rigondeaux uses his lead hand as a defensive shield. He uses it to protect himself by simply blocking and catching punches with his lead hand. Simultaneously, Rigo likes to create distance by using quick backward steps or shuffles or gliding steps backwards, just enough to make people miss their punches or just enough to make people not want to commit to more offense, because he creates distance between his opponent. As I like to say, distance is defense. As you can see from this first clip, Tion Kennedy triples up on his jab. It's absolutely meaningless because Rigondeaux catches every single one of those jabs on his lead hand. In the second clip, you can see Tion Kennedy triple up on his jab again. Once again, Rigondeaux simply just steps back, creates distance between himself and his opponent, and of course catches and blocks those jabs on his lead hand. In this third clip here, still versus Tion Kennedy, you can see Rigondeaux clearly catches all those jabs on his lead hand. Obviously, being a southpaw, the lead hands are aligned with each other. This allows Rigondeaux to easily just pick off his opponent's jabs using his lead hand. Expertly done. In this fourth clip here, this is quite an interesting clip. You can see Rigondeaux reacts by showing you the lead hand there. He's very prepared to block that jab all night long using his lead hand. You can see Tion Kennedy feint the jab. Rigondeaux simply sticks out his lead hand. Beautiful boxing. In this clip, still versus Tion Kennedy, once again you see Rigondeaux actually counter with his lead hand this time. You see him parry the lead hand of Tion Kennedy. He counters it, he moves it out of the way, and then he attempts a left uppercut counter, which misses. In the second instance of this video, he actually successfully pulls off the counter. You can see he counters and parries Tion Kennedy's lead hand with his lead hand, and then he counters with a straight left hand. Beautiful from Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now in this clip, you can see Rigondeaux drop Tion Kennedy by simply blocking Kennedy's left jab with his lead hand, and then follows up with the left cross, which puts Tion Kennedy on the canvas. And from this angle, you can see even better from this angle. Notice how Tion Kennedy jabs. It's a simple left jab. Rigondeaux simply blocks that jab with his right lead hand, and then follows up with a left cross, which drops Tion Kennedy. And of course, finally in this angle, just to show you again, Rigondeaux simply blocks that jab with his lead hand, expertly follows up with a straight left, and drops Tion Kennedy to the canvas. Beautiful boxing.
Fascinating.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how Rigo uses his left uppercut to counter the right hand of a conventional fighter. Of course, being a southpaw, the number one punch which conventional fighters use against southpaws is the right hand or the right cross, for example. And the best counter for that is the left uppercut. So in the first clip versus Tion Kennedy, you can see that Kennedy changes levels and attempts to shoot a right cross to the head, which slightly grazes Rigondeaux. But in the meantime, Rigo also counters with a left uppercut to the head, which was a more devastating punch. In the second instance, you see Tion Kennedy attempt to shoot a jab, which Rigondeaux simply counters by shooting his left uppercut down to the body. Rigo is very, very good at anticipating what his opponent is going to do, and he knows the exact counter to actually throw at the right time. So his punch selection is impeccable.
Against some of the Cuban fighters, and seems to land them where he wants, when he wants.
Guillermo Rigondeaux has a very, very, very advanced skill set, and sometimes he prefers to turn his opponents off their left jab. Now, just to preface this explanation, this is one of his more advanced moves. It looks very simple when I show you the video, but this is actually one of the more advanced moves that Rigo actually performs in the ring. First thing I'm just going to say is, if you're a southpaw out there, and you're just beginning or you're still learning the tricks of the trade, don't even try this in the ring or in sparring, because it's so dangerous, because there's so much that can actually go wrong with this. When I show you the clip of what he does, it's going to look easy, but the thing you have to remember is Rigondeaux makes things look easy. This thing can go very, very badly wrong if you don't know what you're doing. Now let me explain what he does. Rigondeaux slips to the inside of a jab, and then he, at the same, so you heard what I said, he slips to the inside of a jab. And when you slip to the inside of a jab, you leave yourself wide open to be hit with the power hand of the opponent. So in his case, he leaves himself wide open for a right cross. But what Rigondeaux understands this, so what he does is he ducks preemptively, and he gets very, very low. He gets very low, he ducks with his hips, and he gets very low, so that even if the right cross was to come, you know, if the guy was to shoot his right cross, he would still evade the right cross as well. This is where things can go very badly wrong if you don't know what you're doing, because if you slip to the inside of an opponent's jab, be you a conventional fighter or a southpaw, you're always asking for trouble. Then off of the duck, he then performs a 180-degree pivot turn out to his left, and this effectively turns his opponent. So now you're going to see clips of this in action versus Joseph Agbeko. So first you see Agbeko shoot a jab. Once again, you can see Rigo slips the jab. Then you see Rigo gets very low. This is what I was talking about in the introduction of this section. See how Rigo, by slipping this jab to the inside, look very closely. By Rigo slipping this jab to the inside, notice how he's wide open for a right cross. This is why I say don't try this if you don't know what you're doing. But Rigo knows this, so he preemptively ducks. Look how low Rigo gets there. So even if Joseph Agbeko was to shoot his right cross, it will go sailing cleanly over Rigo's back, and it wouldn't even affect him. So Rigo ducks to preemptively avoid the right cross, and then notice how he brings his back foot or his rear foot, which would be his left leg in this instance. He takes a quick step with his left leg forward, and then he pivots on his lead foot, which is how you perform the 180-degree pivot turn. In the second clip, you can see Joseph Agbeko shoot a jab. Rigondeaux ducks beneath the jab, and you can clearly see he ducks very low. I really need to stress this point for people watching this video. Look how low Rigondeaux gets, so that even if Joseph Agbeko was to shoot his jab, Rigondeaux not only ducks low beneath the jab, but he also smothers and pushes himself into Joseph Agbeko, so that right hand, even if Agbeko was to shoot his right cross, it would go sailing over Rigo's head. Now notice how Rigo brings his left leg, which is his rear leg or his back leg, and he takes a step forward and pivots on his lead foot. Excellent boxing. Moving on in this film study, let's talk about how one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world counters the left jab of his opponents by slipping to the outside and shooting a straight left hand or a left cross in the process while slipping simultaneously. As you can see here versus Robert Marroquin, Marroquin shoots his left jab, Rigondeaux slips to the outside and simultaneously shoots his left cross, which catches Robert Marroquin, and then he finishes him off with a powerful right hand. And once again, just on the technique, he slips to the outside of the jab, so this is a much safer option than slipping to the inside of a jab. He slips to the outside, simultaneously shoots the left cross. There's absolutely no delay between the slipping and the punching. You have to do them at the exact same time. Look at the hip rotation and the technique, how he generates power on this punch, leverage on this punch with his hips, and look how he turns his punch over and he punches through his target, so that generates maximum punching power by punching through your target as opposed to punching at your intended destination. And this is just overall an amazing technique. He has one of the best left hands in the game, and he finishes him off with a beautiful right hand as well. In this clip, you can see Robert Marroquin once again shooting a left jab, which Rigondeaux slips to the outside and simultaneously counters with one of the most accurate left hands you see in boxing today. Very powerful. Once again, great leverage on that punch. Now in this clip, this clip is a bit more, there's a bit more to this clip versus Nonito Donaire. First, you can see Rigondeaux using his lead hand as a blinding mechanism. He's using it to block Nonito Donaire's field of vision, and you can see that Nonito Donaire is affected by this, hence why Donaire does the right thing by changing levels, right? You see Nonito Donaire change levels to get away from that lead hand, and then he feints the right cross to the body, and this is very, very sneaky from Nonito Donaire. he changes levels to get away from that lead hand, right? You see him change levels, then you see him feint the right hand to the body, and then he actually really intends to shoot this left cross right here, which actually kind of looks like a jab as well. So you could call it a jab cross or a jab hook. It's a left hook which kind of looks like a jab. And so you could say this is a jab hook, and he actually comes with a very powerful jab hook, which Rigondeaux slips to the outside and counters with his straight left hand. Rigondeaux is absolutely a defensive genius, because you have to understand Nonito Donaire does so many things correctly in this instance that to be countered like this it's just a nightmare for him, because he changes levels to get away from that lead hand, and then he feints the right hand, and then actually really intends to land this what looks like a disguised left hook / jab, and Rigondeaux simply slips to the outside and just counters with it. I mean, it's just an amazing skill to have, and Rigondeaux is simply a joy to watch. Now we're going to take a look at how Rigondeaux rolls this left jab off his right shoulder and counters once again with a straight left hand or his left cross, which of course is his power punch. This really is just showing you that Rigondeaux's skill set is just amazing. He has virtually everything you need in a fighter: reflexes, speed, defense, shoulder roll. I mean, he has absolutely everything. So as you can see, Robert Marroquin shoots his left jab, which Rigondeaux expertly rolls off his right shoulder and then counters with a straight left hand. Now, obviously, we just have to point a few things out here. Robert Marroquin shoots the jab, Rigondeaux rolls it off his right shoulder. Notice how as soon as he rolls that punch off his right shoulder, he transfers his body weight to the left side of his body, right? And then he expertly and beautifully transfers all that body weight. He transfers all that weight right back via the left cross and smashes Robert Marroquin in the face. This is about weight transfer. This is about how you generate power in the punch. As he rolls this on his right shoulder, his hips are moving to the left side of his body. He's generating power this way, and it's his body weight is leaning on the left side of his body, and then with simple hip and feet rotation, he's able to then generate the power on that left straight left and turn all that body weight via his hips into the end of his punch and smashes Robert Marroquin in the face. Beautiful technique. And here we just see from a different angle how he rolls the punch off his right shoulder and counters expertly. You see, to train this kind of thing, to become very good at this, you have to learn how to snap very, very quickly from one position to the next after slipping a punch or rolling a punch. It takes a very, very explosive form of training, right? You need to be training not with heavy weights or things like that, but training with the kind of explosive training that will enable you to be able to change your body position this quickly and actually transfer your weight this in the speed that you see and Rigondeaux perform here. Just truly amazing to watch. Okay, now we're going to be talking about some general defensive attributes and techniques which Guillermo Rigondeaux often employs in the ring. You know, just your basic use of distance to avoid punches, pivots and turns he uses in the ring, and just how he avoids punches with these evasive techniques. So the first thing we're going to look at right now is the 180-degree pivot turn, which is one of Guillermo Rigondeaux's favorite evasive techniques. Being a southpaw versus an orthodox or conventional fighter, you get many opportunities to do this because when he ducks the right cross of a conventional fighter, he's perfectly in position to perform this 180-degree pivot turn. So the way he performs this is, once again, as previously mentioned, he brings his rear foot or his back foot or his back leg, which is his left leg in this instance because he's a southpaw. He simply takes a huge step forward. He takes a step forward, and then while he's stepping forward, it's not, you know, one and then two, it's simultaneously. While he steps forward with his back foot, he pivots his lead foot by roughly 180 degrees, such that the lead foot faces the opposite way from which it began. Okay, so now we see Guillermo Rigondeaux perform this 180-degree pivot turn in his fight with Nonito Donaire. You see that Nonito shoots his right cross, right? You see Nonito shoot the right cross. Rigondeaux simply ducks underneath the right cross and then brings his back foot, which is his left leg in this case, because it's a southpaw. He takes a step forward, and notice as he steps forward, watch his lead foot, which is his right foot, pivot 180 degrees so that it's facing the opposite way. This is how he performs his 180-degree pivot turn. Once again, you can see him bring his back foot, which is his left leg. He takes a step forward and he pivots his lead foot. Beautiful technique. Here versus Tion Kennedy, you can see him perform the same move. He ducks underneath Tion Kennedy's right cross. Pay very close attention to his left leg or his back foot. Notice how he ducks underneath this right cross, and then he takes a step forward with his left leg while pivoting his lead foot 180 degrees such that it faces the opposite way. That is how you perform the 180-degree pivot turn. In this instance here, we see Rigondeaux simply take a step back, because remember, distance is defense. So Rigondeaux simply takes a step back to avoid this right hook. Very crucial to understand is that Rigondeaux is a master of controlling distance and positioning. Notice how Rigondeaux takes just enough of a step to avoid the right hook and no more. He doesn't jump all the way. He doesn't run all the way out of the ring. He doesn't give up space to his opponent. He simply jumps back or hops back, glides back just enough to make Tion Kennedy miss that right hook. Rigondeaux, in the meantime, is holding the phone. So even if that right hook would have made contact, he would have blocked the right hook anyway. Now you see him here finally against Nonito Donaire once again. And this really is just a mockery, because here you have Rigondeaux basically right in front of him, and Nonito Donaire is trying absolutely everything he can. And he can't hit this guy. See, this is the kind of thing that gives you nightmares if you're a professional fighter, or even if you're not a professional fighter. It's not the guys who can hit so hard and the guys who are heavy-handed that give you nightmares. The people who make you wake up at night with cold sweats and shit, and really, really worried about your future, are guys who you sparred with or you fought with and you just couldn't hit them. Those are the guys who wake you up at midnight, 12 midnight, with cold sweats and nightmares because you couldn't hit them. And Rigondeaux is one of those guys. You see how Nonito Donaire is trying absolutely everything he can. Left hooks, rights, left hooks, everything he can, overhand lefts, and there's nothing happening. And Rigondeaux is right in front of him. Rigondeaux is using his change of levels to avoid all those punches, and it really is a masterful performance from Guillermo Rigondeaux. So thanks for watching this film study, guys. This was a pleasure to really study this sweet scientist. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and on to the next one, which will be Vasily Lomachenko. Thanks again, guys.
John Stewart scores it 114, 113. Tom Schreck 115, 112. Julie Letterman 116 to 111. All to the winner by unanimous decision. Guillermo Rigondeaux.
I don't see no evil. That's right. That's right. Montana.